Hello, my creative friends. Recently, I was in a swap, and even though I don't have any of the cards left, I do have a picture of the swap card to show you. I'm going to be making a card today that's very similar than that. So if you're in the swap, or even if you weren't, and you want to create one yourself, you can. For the swap, I cut about, I think we had 16. So I cut 16 of these Whisper White rectangles, and I cut them at 3 1/4 by 2 3/4, and then I stamped my main image. But for this one, I'm going to change it up a little bit. When you're doing a swap, you want to make it as smooth and simple as you can. If you're doing just one, you can be a little more elaborate. So let's get to stamping. If you're wondering where that scrolly image came from, it's from Great Sport. I love getting a stamp set and using it in a way that's different than maybe was intended. I don't think this card looks anything like a sports card, but I really do like it and think it's fun. We're going to take our Stays On ink and stamp this. And for larger images, I like to put the stamp on my mat and ink it up kind of upside down. The next image we're going to use is from Blue Ribbon, and I'm going to use this stamp that says Best, and I'm going to stamp it in Melon Mambo. You can leave this just as it is. You can use the image I used, which is Best, or Happy Birthday, Congrats, any of these. But I thought this might be cute for my friend who's having a baby soon. So I'm actually going to change it up even more and use the Itty Bitty Banners with the Sweet Baby sentiment. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in this black Stays On as well. Alright, now that we have our stamping out of the way, I'm going to pull out the Big Shot, and we're going to work on the Big Shot. I'm using Melon Mambo, and that's why I chose this paper. I actually went on online and looked at all the different papers that had Melon Mambo in it, and I saw this one on the clearance rack, so I picked it up. But if you wanted to do this in a different color, let's say it's for a baby boy, which I also need to make a baby boy card, you could just look for one of the blues, Pool Party, Marina Mist, Baja Breeze, and choose a pattern that has the color you want to use. So let me pull out the Big Shot. This strip is a 4 1/4, by the way, to fit in the Big Shot machine. We're going to be using 2 of the framelits. We're going to be using the Labels framelit die, and this is the 1 2 3rd one in. And you just want to line it up. You want your points to be centered with the circle, and then you want it centered left to right as well. So top and bottom, left and right. And then when it looks pretty good to you, just take any low tack tape, Post-it note works, painter's tape works, and tape it in place so it won't move. And then I'm going to take my banners, Bitty Banners, there's 3 of them that come in the set, and I'm going to take the curvy one and put it over Sweet Baby. And this is on one of the clear plates. Sandwich it between the 2 clear plates, and then tab 2 and run it through your Big Shot. The next thing I'm going to use is the Top Note die, and for this you have one of the clear plates at the bottom, your Top Note die facing up, your Designer Series paper, It doesn't really matter which way it's going, but it does matter that you have the paper completely covering where it's going to cut. Put another cutting plate on top and run it through. The last thing I'm going to do is take this piece of Melon Mambo paper, and it is 3 3/8 by 2 7/8, and I'm going to run it through the Fancy Fan embossing folder. Now, I did not do this for my swap. I figured one extra step might be a little too much, but even more than that, my card was already getting bulky, and it takes more to ship it. When you have a bunch of bulky ones, you have to get bigger packaging. So what I have here is no tabs. I just pushed the tabs through here. I've got a cutting plate, my embossing folder with my piece of Melon Mambo in there, and another cutting plate on top. And again, just run it through. And there we have the fan. I love both sides after it's embossed. We're done with the Big Shot, so I'm going to go clean it up and I'll be right back. Here's the top note die that we cut out, and for my cards what I did was I lined up this point and this point in the groove of the cutter and cut it in half. Like that. And now you've got two pieces, you can make a second card. Also, to make the card base, you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper and cut it in half on the 4 1/4 side, so you end up with 4 1/4 by 11, and then you use your score pal or your scoring blade and you score it at 5 1/2, and you end up with this portrait card. Now, even though scoring means an extra step, if you are doing swaps, believe me, it's much easier to score them all and then fold them all and get them straight and even than it is to just try and fold it and crease it, especially with cardstock that's a portrait like this. I love to color, and to leave this really simple, I'm just going to color in these stars with my Melon Mambo marker. Let's put this card together, starting with our card base, basic black, and we're going to take some snail and just adhere this half top note to the side of our basic black. I use snail for this piece of basic black that's 3 1/2 by 3 inches, and for this piece of Melon Mambo that I embossed earlier, I'm going to use the Tombow Mono Multi Glue. You can either adhere this with a snail and have it flat, or you can use some dimensionals like I'm going to use and pop it up just a little more. You want to center this as best you can, top and bottom, left and right. And you also want to kind of look at it at a couple of different angles because the card's going to be sitting like this. So you might kind of move it around before you push those dimensionals down. This is Stampin' Up's new paper piercing tool, and I am going to add basic rhinestones to the center. Remember I said I was going to bling it up a little bit? So the basic rhinestones should do just that. This is a 1 1/4 circle punch. Make sure you have your stamped image lined up in there and just punch that out. And you can, again, just adhere it with your snail flat or use a dimensional, which I'm going to use. First, I'm going to take the sweet baby that we cut out using the Big Shot with the bitty banners and add a little bit of snail adhesive. My last step is to take the scallop dotted ribbon in basic black, and I'm just going to make a little knot and use a glue dot to stick it down. Here's my stepped up modified version of the swap card, and here's another look at the original. I hope you find some time today to get a little bit creative yourself. Thanks for joining me today. Bye.